What if I told you that youth is not a memory of the past, but a hidden dimension within you, waiting to be reactivated? What if everything you've been taught about time, aging, and the body is part of a carefully designed lie to keep you asleep? For centuries, a sacred text has remained buried under the dust of oblivion. The Book of Youth, a forbidden Gnostic manuscript attributed to the secret circles of the early Christians. It reveals an uncomfortable truth. The soul does not age. It only forgets. The most dangerous aspect of this knowledge is that it can restore freedom to those who thought they had lost it. This is not a video about miracle creams or longevity recipes. It is a veiled guide, a spiritual map that transcends time, dogmas, and biology itself. It reminds you that your consciousness is eternal and that there is a real way to recover that forgotten vitality, not in the body, but in the spirit, and from there, radiate it to your entire existence. The Book of Youth reveals how the archons, dark entities that control the material world according to Gnosticism, implanted the idea of aging in the human soul as a mechanism of control. Youth, according to this text, is not a biological stage but a state of pure consciousness, untainted by fear or the weight of time. Modern science is beginning to tremble, as studies on neuroplasticity, like those of Dr. Joe Dispenza, confirm that the mind can influence and even regenerate the body. What we think, feel, and believe with enough intensity can reconfigure our cells, immune system, and vital energy. What would happen if you combine the hidden teachings of Gnosticism, Hermeticism, and Vedanta with what we know today about consciousness and quantum physics? What if you decided right now to be reborn within your own body? Prepare yourself, because what you are about to discover is not just another secret. It is a silent rebellion against illusion. If you make it to the end, you will not be the same person who started this journey. There is a truth that deeply unsettles the system around us. The soul is eternally young. It has no wrinkles, does not tire, and never forgets its purpose. What ages is not the being, but the identity we adopt under the rules of a world designed for forgetting. This is the first great revelation of the Book of Youth. This almost unknown Gnostic text narrates a dialogue between a luminous figure, a representation of the pure soul, and the false builders of the material world, the archons. According to the text, these beings impose an illusion, matter as the only reality, the body as a prison, and time as a descending line toward decay. But the soul responds with clarity. I do not belong to the cycle of dust. I come from the space where age does not exist. This reveals something radical. Aging is not solely biological, but also a mental, emotional, and spiritual programming. The body follows invisible orders that the soul does not recognize as its own. From childhood, we are taught to grow, but we are also conditioned to fear time, disconnect from intuition, play, and wonder. In short, to lose the youth of the spirit. Yet the ancients knew how to return. The spiritual alchemy taught in the Emerald Tablet of Hermes Trismegistus speaks of an internal transmutation that turns the lead of forgetting into the gold of awakened consciousness. This transformation is real, tangible, and verifiable, and it begins when one remembers that the mind is everything. The Kybalion states, the universe is mental. This is more than philosophy. In quantum physics, experiments like the double-slit experiment show that reality changes when observed with conscious intention. Electrons do not behave as solid matter until observed. What if the same applies to our body? What if aging is not a fact but a response to an inner observer trained to expect deterioration? The Book of Youth affirms that there is a sacred region within the human being, untouched by time, a hidden chamber, an inner temple where the original light still burns. It exists in the physical body but sustains it. It is not measured in years but can rejuvenate the face, the gaze, the heart. This is not poetry, it is spiritual science. The Vedanta echoes this truth. What changes is not you. You are the witness of what changes. Maya, the illusion, makes us believe we are what we see in the mirror, but behind that image lies an unborn, eternal, incorruptible consciousness. Meditation is not an esoteric ritual. It is a return to the 0 point where youth simply is. Studies on neuroplasticity bring us closer to validating what sacred texts taught millennia ago. Beliefs held with intense emotion reconfigure the brain, chemistry, and body. Testimonies of people in their 60s reversing physical conditions through deep visualization show we are not witnessing miracles, but a science beginning to remember what it already knew. So what is your true reflection? The body tired by years, or the untouched soul waiting to be recognized? Have you lived 50, 60, or 70 years under the spell of a clock when your essence has not even begun to age? The soul does not accumulate years, it accumulates consciousness. And that spiritual growth, paradoxically, returns us to true youth, the kind that depends not on skin, but on inner fire. If you've made it this far, a part of you knows this. A part has awakened today, not to long for the past, but to begin the most important rebirth of your life. As the Book of Youth affirms, whoever remembers their origin is reborn beyond time. Are you ready to remember? If the soul is eternally young, what aged within you? The answer lies not in bones or skin, but in the invisible veils imposed since your first breath. The Book of Youth makes it clear. The fight is not against the body, but against the false gods that shaped your perception. In Gnostic cosmology, archons are entities operating from invisible planes, not horned demons, but programmers of the illusory matrix governing this world. Their strategy is devastatingly simple: implant ideas and patterns that make humans forget their divine origin. Aging in this context is not natural but induced, a result of accepting that you are destined to decline. The Book of Youth recounts how the soul, descending to the physical plane, is besieged by archons. They limit it, whispering that it was born to die. Yet the text also narrates the soul's silent rebellion as it remembers its eternal nature. A single spark can set fire to the illusory structure, and that spark is you. You are that spark when you refuse to accept fear, resignation, or deterioration as your own. Quantum physics offers a key. If electrons change when observed, what happens if you observe your life differently? What if every thought, word, and emotion becomes an order to the quantum matrix forming your reality? Dr. Joe Dispenza explains that consciousness directs energy, and energy creates form. Why believe in the current form when you can reimagine it from within? Archons have no power over an awakened soul. They act only on a sleeping mind. Awakening is not poetic. It is a radical act of freedom. When you sit in silence, close your eyes, and ask for nothing, you remember. You remember you were a child but did not lose the child. You played but never stopped imagining. Time passed but you remain intact in essence. In Hermeticism, this remembering is transmutation, the inner alchemy that transforms the lead of archontic programming into the gold of expanded consciousness. The Emerald Tablet teaches, what is below is like what is above. If your body, vitality, and expression could reflect your eternal soul, that is not blind faith but applied science from a higher state. Vedanta sages say you need not destroy the ego, but transcend it, like shedding a disguise. You become yourself, who you never stopped being but stopped forgetting. This rebellion rejuvenates the soul, remembering who you are beyond time. The body responds because it is the instrument, not the origin. Cells adapt to what the heart holds as truth. The immune system strengthens, the gaze clears, the voice vibrates anew. This is not magic but inner coherence, the youth that emerges when the soul is free from borrowed ideas. Look at yourself with the fire of someone who has not said their last word. You may be 55, 60, or 70. So what? Biology has traveled a path, but consciousness can open a new one where archons no longer write your destiny. You have taken the pen back. The true act of power is choosing with every breath to stop aging on autopilot, to remember that youth is not a privilege of young years, but a right of the awakened soul. In doing so, you rebel, not against time, but against the lie. When you awaken, everything changes, not just you. There comes a moment when you no longer seek external answers, not because you've given up, but because you understand that everything essential is within you. This is more than spiritual solace. It is the start of regeneration, not just of the soul, but of the reality around you. Science now whispers this truth, almost timidly, as if afraid to name the obvious. The Book of Youth is not a metaphor, but a coded guide for those ready to return to what was never lost. True youth is not a state of the body, but an alignment with the eternal source. It is not recovered with effort, but awakened when interference ceases. Interference like mental noise, social programming, unquestioned genetic inheritance, fear of the future, or nostalgia for the past. Each layer is a fog covering the original flame. But when consciousness becomes the observer, stopping the automatic flow of thought and inhabiting the present with intensity, the fog dissipates. What emerges is not new but forgotten, the original energy still alive in you. Joe Dispenza explains that the body cannot distinguish between what it intensely imagines and external reality. When you visualize a more vital, luminous, younger self with authentic emotion, the body responds. Synapses change, hormones regulate, genes reactivate, and the inner image reflects outward. Visualization is not a game, but a tool for biological reprogramming. This visualization must come from the soul, not the ego. Not a superficial youth, but a connection to who you are without fear or masks. This pure core of consciousness is what esoteric texts call the gold of the spirit. When it shines, the body recognizes it, energy shifts, health restores, and time loses power. Quantum physics shows the observer alters the outcome. The observer can also change themselves, jumping timelines, refusing to age by the collective narrative. This is not denying reality, but creating a new one from a higher consciousness. Miracles are coherent manifestations of a unified consciousness. Vedanta teaches that you are what you believe, not by magic but by vibration. Belief is a sustained frequency. If you believe you have life to awaken, love to offer, wisdom to share, that belief calls a higher version of yourself, one that already exists, waiting to be recognized. The Book of Youth's message is clear. You did not come to age but to remember. The body is a temporary vehicle, but the light within is timeless. That light dims only when you forget it's there. This is not about hope, but a call to practice. Conscious breathing, deep meditation, silent contemplation. Each is a declaration of war against the system that claimed you were in decline. This regeneration needs no blind faith, only presence. Every moment you remember your source, something rejuvenates, beats stronger, is reborn, and that is you. Perhaps no one told you this. Your whole life you heard aging was inevitable, that you must accept deterioration. But now you know, that idea was never yours. It was implanted, programmed, sustained for centuries to disconnect you from the eternal source within. The Book of Youth is not a myth or pious fantasy, but a spiritual declaration of independence, piercing time's veils to remind you that you are not a victim of the calendar, body, or material world. You are pure consciousness, able to regenerate and reborn as many times as you choose. Many feel the best has passed, but that is an illusion woven by archons, culture, and fear. The best awaits when you return to yourself. You don't need to be 20 again, but to recover the spiritual energy of knowing who you are. True youth is not the absence of wrinkles, but the presence of purpose, waking daily with fire, clarity, and certainty that you can create, heal, guide, love, and begin anew. This is not poetry or solace, but biology influenced by consciousness, alchemy activated by presence. When you meditate, observe without judgment, breathe with intention, speak with love, and visualize your highest self. You activate the codes the Book of Youth protected, the codes of the eternal soul. Each time you deprogram conditionings, gain ground, and recover your essence. This script does not seek to convince, but to remind you, because you already knew this. You knew it as a child playing without fear, in dreams where you flew without limits, when you felt life could offer something immense, unnamed. Today you know. You have remembered, and this remembrance is not the end, but the beginning. If this message touched you deeply, don't leave it there. Speak, comment, share, walk with others awakening. Subscribe to this channel if you wish to explore these secrets the soul never forgets. This is not just content, but a point of return. Every time a consciousness ignites, the world rejuvenates with it. Remember, your age does not define your power. Your soul does. Thank you for watching, and until next time.